Hello, and welcome to On the Couch, Conversations with Brenda Porter. Today's guest is the fabulous Toni Henson. She is a graduate of Howard and NYU, and the mother of four, and the founder of the Atlanta Black Theater Festival. Welcome, Toni.
Thank you for having me, Brenda. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I am so excited about having this conversation with you. I love the work you do, and I I admire you so much because I put together one show. You put together lots of shows, and I just don't know how you do it, especially being the mother of four. Um, so I I've I'm a little aware of your beginning story, but would you tell us a little bit about how this all began?
Sure. Well, being the mother of four, of course, is the greatest joy of my life, but I didn't do that alone. I do have a husband of 31 years. I wanted to
Congratulations.
mention that. That would be awkward. But yeah, so how did the Atlanta Black Theater Festival get started? Uh, well, it's a long story, but I'm gonna shorten it for time's sake. Uh, I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life. I grew up in the backyard of Broadway, so I've always been exposed to the arts. I took ballet classes and music classes when I was growing up. My parents always exposed me to the arts. We went to the Radio City Music Hall every Easter, and we went to see plays. So they were a big part of my life. The arts was a big part of my life, always. And when I started having children, I wasn't good as an employee. So I started having children. I wanted to think about what I could do as an entrepreneur that I could involve my children who were school age at the time. So I came across a franchise called Drama Kids International, and it was an amazing experience where I was able to train to teach children acting and teaching skills. So I ended up growing. This thing grew out of its mind. We were the fastest growing territory, which was in the Princeton, New Jersey area. We were the fastest growing territory in the country. So we won lots of awards and accolades and grew to 17 classes per week. I had 4 teachers on board, and we started doing the final performances of 10 performances a day because we had all these classes during at the end of
10
the
performances a day?
year.
Oh
At
my
the end of
gosh.
the season, each class had its own, and classes were anywhere from 15 to 20 kids. So I think you're understanding what I was training for. But you know, God has a plan for everything. We relocated, our family relocated to Atlanta, and it was during the 2000s, 2007, 2008. Tyler Perry was exploding, and I was used to traditional theater. But there was an audience who obviously had a palate that wasn't being satisfied. So I said, I wasn't in theater at the time, but I purchased another franchise, and I started doing that, 2 units of that franchise, and that grew. So I knew I had this sales thing going. That grew. I had 43 employees, but at the end of the day, even though the money was on the books, it was a bad deal. And this is interest. This is a good business perspective. What I didn't have was an exit strategy. So when I knew that I didn't have that exit strategy, I knew that I was in for losses. So at the end of the day, we ended up closing the franchise. I was sued for breach of contract, and we lost everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, including our children's college tuition. So I had to declare bankruptcy because we had to save our home and whatever else we could save under that bankruptcy. So it was a devastating time, and that was in 2010. And if you remember then, it was also a recession and a real estate crash. So we lost rental properties. It was just a mess. So I got, as anyone will get, extremely depressed. I was just couldn't get out of bed.
Oh.
And my husband said to me, which sowed the seed, you were really happy you were teaching the kids and producing theater. And I said, yeah, you're right. He said, why don't you just get back into theater? So mind you, all of these things are coming into play. So it's like a perfect storm. Uh, and one night, about 3 a.m. on a hot summer August night in Atlanta, I heard 4 words: Atlanta Black Theater Festival. And it was so intuitive that I thought it already existed. And so I jumped straight up out of bed and went right to Google and did the research. And as it turned out, it did not. So there I saw, understanding and knowing that we had this Tyler Perry phenomenon, this love that I and passion that I had for traditional theater and the arts, and the need to me for a space to create a platform for artists. So the Atlanta Black Theater Festival was born. That was 2012. uh, my sister actually founded it with me. So in 2011, that was in August of 2011, she then got laid off about a month later from her job with the state. And she moved into my basement. I said, listen, we can pool our resources, we can save money, and we can figure this out. Now, mind you, my sister, because she was so valuable to me, she used to be an administrator for the National Council of Negro Women's Black Family Reunion
Oh my
festivals
gosh.
that happened back in the 1980s and 90s. And if you remember that, those huge
Yes.
festivals. So she had that experience. She worked with Dr. Dorothy Height. And so with her expertise, my love of the arts, and my experience with Drama Kids, we created a platform, and that has since been a platform for over 150 playwrights and over 3,000 performing artists from all over the world, from 6 countries and 26 states. So here we are.
Wow. So this year with the pandemic, um, are there plans for it to be more virtual than in person, or what's the plan for this year?
Well, of course, we're community group and community oriented group, and we did not want to see the headline or live through putting anyone in danger. So it was important for us to make this decision, and we made it fairly early, to pivot to online. So everything will be virtual and online. And what I see it as a blessing. I see it as a blessing because we're going to reach far more people than we are ever able to reach with a live event. Our access passes are flying off the shelf. Our sales are double where they are from past years at this point. And we really see an incredible opportunity to showcase even more artists this year. So I'm excited about it. I'm truly excited about this robust, yet aggressive move to digital.
Well, I have always wondered this because I think we'll be in digital world for a while, and we've got film, we have theater, and now we have this sort of melding of the two. And I
Yeah.
wonder how that works because I used to look at theater or films that had been done, video from theater, and gone, no, it just has to be done in person. You can't watch a theater show on a screen. It's just not the same. It's the people in the room. It's the energy. It's the what. So how do you think this will affect um, this new way of looking at it? How will it affect the arts?
Well, one of the things that, as a woman with a business background, I'm always looking for what's trending, what's working, and what's not. So I always take a look at what the external threats and opportunities are. And so we planned this season or this festival this year with that in mind. So of course we did our research. We've been looking at what's happening, what's working from what's happening, and even some of the majors or the minors, all the readings I've been in, and I see where the engagement level is heightened, and I've seen and witnessed where they're just losing their audiences. So what we did was we took a hybrid of, and it's the same thing we did when we started the festival. We went and we researched, we visited other festivals. We said, well, what experience is better? Because it's all really about the patron experience. And anything you do, you have to keep that audience experience in mind. So how can we, with our limited access, how can we rethink engagement? So we decided that what we would do is create highly engaging interludes before and after each event. So, but for the rest, you'll have to tune in to see, because we've got lots of surprises. We've got lots of surprises, games, gifts, giveaways. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm excited. And what are the dates this year?
September 30th to October 3rd. So starts on a Wednesday. Our opening night is on a Wednesday, and then we're moving to October 3rd. We end on Saturday, October 3rd.
And how many, because usually you have a long list of plays. Will you be doing as many this year?
We have not 40 events, I'm sorry. We have 38 artists, presenters. So we're almost in our 40 plays in 4 days. But it's a combination of short films and plays, professionally taped plays, and again, different things on the menu. But they're broken up into six events each day. So just to keep it simple for everybody. So there's 6 events each day, starting at 10 a.m. and running until 10 p.m. So we have one at 10, 12, 2, so on and so forth. So if you tune in, the passes are daily, and it's pay what you can.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's not, because we want eyeballs. We don't, we're looking, of course, to support the artists, which is what we always do, but we're looking for eyeballs as well. So whatever your budget is in this environment, whether it's $1 or 10 or 100, we'll take it, and we'll just count it on joy and just appreciate you and just want you to get engaged. And our message this year is, it's time to heal. It's time for us to heal. So,
and it is. It is the Atlanta Black Theater Festival, but I'm sure that there are others that come and enjoy. Do you know what the percentage is of other people who are exposed to our wonderful stories through your organization?
Yes, I do. We are welcome. Of course, we welcome anyone who enjoys the Afrocentric experience. And that is a cultural experience. And I think we need to understand what Black means. I think a lot of people think it's a political term, but really is a cultural experience, a cultural identification that means that it includes anybody who has a descendant from the African culture, which is rich with hues and an array of textures and flavors and colors. And through the transatlantic slave journey, we picked up Latin and Caribbean and all types of flavors to add to this thing we call Black. So of course everybody's welcome. But to answer your question, our audiences of other is growing every year. And people, once they come, they become addicted because our stories are as rich as our culture.
That's what one of the things that I am always so happy and proud about as an African American. We have such wonderful stories, and places like your festival allow everybody to see those stories, because for years and years and years our stories were not told, or they were told from a not our perspective. And I think that this whole um, Black Lives Matter movement is getting people to tell stories. They're like, my life matters. Here's my story. Listen. And we're trying to get people to really listen to us, um, and not just, because traditionally on Broadway, you've got a, a show that is a musical that's Black, but you don't have an awful lot of shows that are not musicals because everybody enjoys our music, you know? But there are stories, don't get me wrong, there are stories. They usually don't, their runs are usually shorter than the musicals. And it's so nice to have a platform where our stories can be shared. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that.
The thing about Broadway is, and everybody looks at Broadway as a standard. I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with a lot of Broadway producers in the course of producing the Atlanta Black Theater Festival. And one thing that it is a commercial phenomenon. It is a marketing and commercial phenomenon. And what that means is it really is only that. And they've shifted and they're geared towards tourism. So if it's not upbeat and so if you know over the years, if you know Broadway theater, over the years it has changed because the tourism market in New York has blossomed, has exploded. So, and they cater to that. To get raw stories told, and it is still entertainment, but to get that, to satisfy that palate for raw stories, you got to go be off what they call off Broadway or off. So to get those gritty gut, raw stories that you wanna get when you see a good drama.
Now, are you still teaching children?
No, I actually, it's funny that you asked that question because I stopped teaching children about, 10 years ago. But I got the travel bug. I actually spent 52 days in Ghana last year. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was an incredible experience. And I discovered a new talent and I started writing poetry. So I wrote a book and just published it this past April. But to get to the children question, I met a lot of really vibrant young people, and I adopted some teenagers and some more millennials. And what I realized was that even though they speak English in Ghana, there is a real desire to speak uh, English very well with, I guess, what you would call it from their perspective, um, uh, an American dialect. Uh, so the all of the culture and the ministries are moved towards teaching English. That's a primary thing because they recognize to do business, you really need to be able to speak good English, and if they grow as an economy, those English speaking countries. So everybody's loving this, but that's the long story. The short of it is I started taking just during COVID so I can be productive. I started taking these teaching English as a foreign language courses. So I'm doing that online now, and hopefully my dream is to be able to go back and volunteer and teach some children diction, and because that's what I did with Drama Kids. I taught children, and most of the children that came, and why it grew so much is because there was a very, very dense Pakistani Indian culture in the Princeton
Mm.
area. So all of those children spoke English as a second language. So the curriculum was geared towards not only acting, but speaking skills, how to how to grow and develop those speaking skills. So I figured with that experience, I could help and maybe start some acting classes that are focused on fun, dramatic ways to speak good English. But I just fell in love with the people, the culture. I did a Dave Chappelle. I ran, ran over there. I ran over there. Things got, I was having marriage problems. I was having children problems, and I just ran away. Oh, my kids are millennials. They're all grown now, but I just ran away, and it was the most incredible highlight of my life. So,
Wow.
of this part of my life.
Well,
So I can't wait to get back.
that's amazing. And I hear you talking about giving back. I think that's one of the things that I really admire and respect about you is that you are always giving. You're giving to the community. You're giving to people. Um, from what I know of you, you have this a beautiful, loving, godly spirit that is about giving and honoring others. And that's so nice. That is so nice.
Well, I have to thank God. I've been blessed, and the Bible said, "To whom much is given, much is required." So anybody who is a giver knows that you are really far more blessed when you give than when you don't.
This is true.
And that's something that can be tested and proven. I don't. You can see I don't miss any meals. The lights come on when I switch them, and that's at the end of the day. That's what makes my life so rich. So I appreciate your compliments. I am gracious. You are kind. Thank you.
Now, you mentioned your sister. Is she still working with you?
Well, she's one of our. We have about 100 volunteers that make the Atlanta Black Theater Festival happen. So she's one of our volunteers. But my sister, since getting laid off. See, we're sisters of triumph and overcoming. She went back to school. Now she's like in her 50s. She went back to school and got her bachelor's degree, and now she's working with children in behavioral health. So I'm like, I can't remember where I put my keys. You go back to school. And I just admire her so much. She's a warm, vibrant spirit. And Wanda Simmons, and I just give her a shout out because I know she's going to be on the call because she's always so supportive. But yeah, she comes and she does our volunteer coordination. And she's also a judge for the Festival Favorite Awards. So yeah, she's still a part of it.
Well, you mentioned being 50 and going back to school. I know that in Georgia, once you get to be a senior, I don't know if it's 62 or 65 or something, you can go back and take classes free. And when I was younger, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. When I do that, I'm gonna learn this and I'm gonna learn that. And as I'm getting closer to this age, I'm like, well, I don't think so. I'd love, I'm a life learner. I love learning. I really do. But to go and sit and be required to retain all of that, I don't know.
I'm with you. I'm the only reason why I'm taking these courses online is because they have open book tests. Everything is you have your notes right there and you can refer to your notes. Otherwise, I'm with you.
So I want to get back for a second. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to get back for a second to um, doing theater online, because doing theater online um, eliminates the overhead of having to rent a space for the most part, unless there's some sort of space that you have to do your initial introduction for whatever theater thing you are doing. And so I'm I'm curious as to whether this will be an economically beneficial way for theater to happen in the future.
Well, we explored that. We actually brought on a technical consultant and to help us figure out the best platforms to make this work. A lot of times, even though we will incorporate Zoom into it, we'll do a hybrid of live and taped events. Just like the conventions that you're seeing, that the DNC in particular was
Mm-hmm.
well done. Um, we will we do have to pay for that. We have to pay for an integration platform. Even though it doesn't cost as much as renting a theater space, our budget is still we still have a budget, and we do have to spend money. More robust advertising, digital advertising now, because nobody's going anywhere, so you can't, drape the city with flyers. And so we're
Mm.
doing a lot of digital advertising, which has given us a great return. So people, and then we have to also look at digital fatigue, which is a thing, whether or not people will be just tired by that time of the different platforms and what is being exerted over those platforms. So we got to make sure, again, it's highly engaging. That's our number one question. How can we make it highly engaging with it and minimize those technical glitches? So it's taking a lot of planning, just like the live event. But the only thing is we've never done this before, so we don't have experience with what can go wrong. So we're trying to anticipate what can go wrong. So it sort of be like the first festival and then grow. But I'm optimistic because the one thing we don't have to do is manage people as
Right.
much, get people on stage and up and on time. It's like I always say, we're going to be like a theater, like a film festival. I always say, yeah, you do a film festival, you press play, we mount plays. So we'll be more like a film festival. So and in some ways it'll be more complicated, but in other ways it'll be easier. And so we're trying to get through our learning curve now before we air live. So our reel is actually in editing right now, and we start dress rehearsals on Monday, or practice on
Right.
Monday, and so they will run privately, so we can make sure that we are going through anything or anticipating anything that could go wrong, from the switches from the to tape to Zoom, the engagement and all of that, personalities, all of that stuff. So we start that on Monday. So we'll be ready by September 30th, hopefully with the airtight product that everybody will love and enjoy. So
I'm sure you will. So you mentioned budget. It is the festival funded strictly by ticket sales, or are you able to get grants and such?
our grant game is zero. We don't get grants. We don't get support. We rely heavily on volunteers. That's our secret sauce. We have, like I said, over 100 volunteers each year, and we have people that come back after a while. They're just trained and they know what to do. And I don't make money with the festival, um, unfortunately. But where people support us is they make private donations, and we do accept private donations, and we accept, and of course, we generate sales through the ticket sales, through revenue through the ticket sales. That's our primary source of revenue. We have a couple of sponsors, corporate sponsors, who do help with our philanthropic side of it, which is the educational um, programs, and that's PNC Bank, and they've been a sponsor with us for for several years. So we appreciate that. And some local businesses also offer sponsorship. Pepsi donates all of the beverages that are sold during the festival, so we can make, yeah, several $100s, or a couple $1,000 because of that. And that's how we get through it. And then, of course, all of the artists, they don't make, top dollar. They make money, but they don't make top rate. And we actually, the platform is structured so that the artists receive 100% of the proceeds from the door. And that just really barely covers the ability to give them a stipend and also travel expenses. So
Wow.
artists do fundraisers as well, and the money that the festival that goes to the festival are fees from vendors, and that helps offset some of our costs. My staff uh, gets paid. With the exception of the artistic director, he doesn't get paid, but our technical, managing and technical, they get paid. The technical director and the marketing, digital marketing, and our festival manager, she gets paid. But other than that, I don't take a salary. But yeah, we rely heavily on the support of the community. That's what gets us through every single year, and we are so grateful for it, because otherwise we would not be here. We would not be here.
Well, you give a service to the community, and they appreciate it, and they want to support you. So that's always a good thing when people feel like you're there for them. So, um, as we come close to our end, are there projects other than this that you're working on that you'd like to share?
Well, I did mention my book. I don't know if this is going to come right here, but it's called
Yes.
Let It Go. Queens Got a Shit Too. And I love this book. People are claiming that they can't put it down, but it's a raw and honest poetic memoir of my life after I empty nested. Because the kids, they take everything from you, husbands take everything from you, and then you're left, you're like, okay, what's left? I don't have my body no more, I don't have my mind anymore. I didn't gain weight, so what is it left from me? And I guess I'm striking a chord, because we were Amazon bestseller in two categories. Number one in two categories, and we ranked in the top 104 categories on Amazon. So I guess I'm saying something through this book. So hopefully when COVID lifts, I'll be able to do some of those spoken word tours. I'm looking forward to that. I did some when I was in Ghana, and that was so exhilarating. So, and the other thing is a podcast. My husband and I decided that we were going to flesh out our marital discourse on air.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's called, and the reason why is because we've been together for 31 years, and nobody has a really easy time staying together for 31 years. And our love and passion is for Black families. We both share that. We raised 4 children, we fostered children, we adopted a child. So we want to see strong Black families in the community. So we're just sharing what worked for us and what doesn't work for us. And hopefully some people can pick up and glean from our fields of lessons and points of view, and maybe save them some steps, because there are young families here struggling. We want to create a voice for Black families, because we don't feel like there is a strong voice in the United States that supports families, not let alone Black families. So we want to fill that niche, and it must be striking a chord, because it's growing in popularity each week, and we do it weekly. It's on all the platforms. It's called Black Family Table Talk, and it's on all the platforms, all, Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you want, wherever you do listen to your podcast. But I encourage people to tune in. Last week's episode was really hot and sizzling, and we got a lot of feedback on that one, and just people anonymously reaching out and saying that they're really growing and learning as a result of listening in and really thinking about their own situations. So
Okay, and the name again is what?
Black Family Table Talk. So
Okay.
you can go to blackfamilytabletalk.com, or you can just check us out on any of the podcast platforms.
I was wondering how helpful this is for you, not only for the people, but for you, your relationship as well.
The podcast is it's gets us to talk. And like, I was saying, it's just a way to, I think once you push past the fact that there's nothing new under the sun, that everybody experienced something. People curse, they argue, they have problems with the kids, and sometimes it's public and sometimes it's not. So just being able to share that and get past that vulnerability, I think as long as we're getting feedback that people love what we do, and we do get feedback every week. We just aired our 16th episode, and we're getting feedback. My mother's giving us feedback, and our children, and we've got people reaching out from the community that know us and that we didn't even know what was listening, and they're telling us that they're growing and they're learning from it. I like that it's husband and wife. It's my husband and myself. So we give the woman's perspective as well as the man's perspective on things, on parenting and fatherhood. That was our most popular episode. Debunking the myth, Black fathers in the home. That was the episode in season 1. We're in season 2 now. And he had some frat brothers, and that was a different episode where they just sat around and talked about being Black fathers. And it was an incredible storytelling session. And again, it's all about telling our stories and sharing our experiences so we can be more human. Black people, we need to be more human to ourselves, and that means giving and allowing us to grow. And encouraging our growth within our community, because we're only, and I always say this, we're only 3 generations from the N-word. So, and then sometimes not even that. So we have to be gracious for ourselves, and then we also have to be gracious in terms of the images that we portray, and just be human. Because I think everybody else gets to be human, but us. Everybody gets to be tolerated and have exceptions, but us. We have to, there's a zero tolerance for anything that someone of African descent does. But the moment a majority person does, they get labeled, okay, teenager, or troubled child, or and it's just not fair. It's just not fair.
That is so true. So true. When you said that everybody, argues, everybody has difficulties. I remember I never heard my parents, when I was growing up, I never heard my parents argue or speak harshly to each other until I was well into college. I didn't hear that. And I remember my first 2 boyfriends, we disagreed on something, and I ended the relationship because I knew my parents had never disagreed as far as I knew, and I think they did me a disservice. Yeah, but they never, I guess they always went behind closed doors. My mother always was like, okay, your father, the woman who believed that the husband was the head of the house, and then behind closed doors, probably when we were asleep, they and as I got older, I realized that they had their signals, their looks, their whatever that let them know. But growing up, I was just like, hey, my parents never argued, no one else. And if they can't not argue, then I don't need to be in a relationship that ever disagrees or argues. And
Mm.
so it was interesting.
I
Um,
believe that. I don't know what is, to be honest with you, I heard years ago from a very well-respected principal that children should not experience their parents arguing. And but we didn't follow that rule. So then I have the guilt of, did we model well? So that, and it's funny that we're talking about this because the next episode that we're airing next week, no, the week after next, is going to be called Fighting Fair. So I think it'll be an interesting introspective look into ways to fight and how we can model for our children how we resolve conflict. So, but I can honestly say that we didn't pass the test. We didn't pass the test, but we got to go. We're going back to reteach, and I think this podcast is going to help a lot of people save some steps and just get them. If anything, life is so busy, especially when you're raising children. Just to get people thinking about, well, is that good? Was it good for me to, say that cuss word to my spouse? Or, I know I was angry, but could I have been more self-controlled? And if we can ask ourselves those questions as we go through this life, I think our families will definitely benefit more from at least some introspective thought. Not trying to tell people what to do, just saying, just think about it. You know, just
and
think
then once
about
our
it.
families are all together, we can go to the Atlanta Black Theater Festival and have
Yes,
conversations about all the wonderful shows that you produce there. So
yeah.
if someone is interested in getting a ticket or a day pass to the Atlanta Black Theater Festival, how do they go about doing that?
I just go to our website, or you can Google Atlanta Black Theater Festival, or if you can remember Atlanta spelled out, btf.org. That's Atlanta spelled out, B like in black, T as in theater, F as in festival. You can go there and get a day pass. We have 4 days of Black plays online, and you can get a pass, and it's good for 24 hours, and you can watch it when it airs, live when it airs, or you can watch it later on. So if you're working or you got something or you're distracted, you can go back and push play or rewind and get it in. Get your theater on.
Well, I am very excited and looking forward to this year's festival. And I want to thank you so much, Toni, for coming and being with us today and having this conversation. And I'm looking forward to having more with you at some point. Thank you.
I really appreciate the work that you do in our community. Thank you. Thank you for all you do to tell our stories and the encouragement and support that you give to the artists in the
Thank you.
Atlanta community. You are one of the heroes, the
We all work
leaders.
together. We all work together, and I love it. We are a family. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, we must tell our stories.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.